Welcome Major General William Eynart, who served in both the Air Force and Illinois Army National Guard during his 36-year-long career. He's a former congressman as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Adrienne, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
There are a lot of big questions we're hoping to gain some extra perspective on. You know, it's been interesting. Really, the talk has backed away from diplomatic solutions in light of more of the assaults from Russia on Ukraine. It's interesting. Linguist Noam Chomsky actually saying that Ukraine should work with Russia. What do you believe is possible in terms of a diplomatic answer here?
Well, I think Putin only understands one thing, and that is strength. Frankly, my recommendation would be the exact opposite of what the distinguished linguist, Mr. Chomsky, says. And I think that President Zelensky would be far better off to say, we're going to keep punching you in the mouth until you pull your soldiers back and go home. You know, the center of gravity for the Russian effort really is Putin. And he has to convince Putin that he will fight to the death. And frankly, that's what we've seen the Ukrainians do. As long as they're supplied with the material to fight the Russians, they're going to continue to do so. They're defending their home and their freedom. So as a result, they have a much higher morale than do the Russian forces. Sooner or later, Putin will have to answer to the mothers and grandmothers of those dead Russian soldiers who are going home in caskets.
But if Ukrainian forces are vowing to fight to the death, there's no doubt from anybody, I would think, that Russia has the same idea in mind, to fight to the death. Can Ukraine continue to stand up to Russia's forces, even if an all-on air assault is coming soon?
Well, you know, first of all, we need to understand that while Russia has an army that's 5 times larger than Ukraine's, and their air force is even bigger than Ukraine's, the Russians cannot afford to focus all of those forces into Ukraine. You know, the Russian nation spans 11 time zones. They have fought with the Chechens, they fought with the Georgians, they fought with the Chinese, all in the relatively recent past. So they can't afford to pull all of those forces and focus all of those forces on Ukraine. Additionally, Russia has already committed their best trained forces and had their noses bloodied at it. We've seen that Putin is now calling up conscripts. There's talk that they're calling up 60,000 reservists. What we need to understand, what we need to remember is the Russian reservists are not like the Army National Guard, the Air National Guard here in the United States, or the reserve forces that we have. For example, the National Guard trains a minimum of 39 days a year. Now that's nearly 8 5-day work weeks a year, and most train more than that, frankly. So, but when we look at the Russian reserve system, they only have about 6,000 or 7,000 reservists who regularly train. The rest of them are just thrown into an unready reserve, if you will. They're simply veterans who served some time ago. You can't throw untrained conscripts or untrained reservists right into the fight. If you do, you're simply inviting a massacre.
Let's talk about the nuclear threat. There is a former Russian foreign minister who spoke out to Fox News just over the weekend, talking about the fact that he believes that Vladimir Putin would employ nuclear capabilities if he believed that NATO was going to come into Moscow. Do you agree with him?
I think that's certainly a very real possibility. You know, we have to understand Putin. Putin, you know, if you reverse the situation, and let's say that instead of the Warsaw Pact collapsing and the Soviet Union collapsing, that the United States had collapsed and that NATO had collapsed. To Putin, Ukraine is like Texas would be to us. So reverse the situation, NATO's collapsed, the U.S. has collapsed, and Texas is now looking at aligning with Russia. We, of course, would go absolutely ballistic over that. And that's the position that Putin sees himself in. We don't know what the red line for Putin is, but clearly approaching Moscow would. You know, NATO is not going to attack Russia. NATO's not going to march on Moscow. At best, I think what we'll continue doing is supplying the Ukraine with the weapons they need to fight Russia. That I don't believe is going to be a red line for Putin, because we've been doing it all along. And Putin has not had any real response from the West. Look at what he did in Chechnya. Look at what he did in Georgia. Look at what he's done in Syria. We have talked, but we've never done anything. Now that President Biden has ended the distraction of Afghanistan, and now that President Biden has restored our ties to NATO, very strong ties, and they should be strong ties. My grandmother sent 5 of her 6 sons and 4 of her 6 sons-in-law to Europe to fight in World War II. We haven't had to fight in Europe since, other than Kosovo, and Kosovo really wasn't a big fight. We haven't had to fight in Europe on the scale that we had to. So NATO has done its job, and our ties to NATO need to remain strong.
Retired Major General William Eynart, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you being with us on Morning in America.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.